Then and now, we got the crown when we rock the town. Hot sound, keep us breaking ground while we chillin' lounge. 3 generations, black nerd soldiers, podcast snipers trying to pop culture. Allegedly, haters try to talk, but a pedigree in rare form.
What it is, everybody? Hello. It is the one, the only Then and Now podcast. I'm your co-host, C. Diesel, and I'm joined with my two esteemed co-hosts, Professor E, King of the Comics, and Lelouch V, a.k.a. the Big Black Muffin. How y'all doing, my brothers? How we feeling?
Doing good, man. It's throwing me off. Y'all can't tell this at all, but our positions, Lelouch and I are switched. I'm so used to being on the other side of Diesel.
Really? On my screen, I'm on the left side of the
I don't even know what the screens are anymore, but it's A-OK.
They'll see it in the normal setup. They'll see it.
As long as they see it normal, I'll get over it. My Alzheimer's won't kill me too much. How you doing there, Diff?
I'm good, man. Work has been long. We've been doing some retreat stuff, get ready for this semester. But I'm happy to be here with my brothers once again, discussing some nerdy shit.
Right on.
Yeah. Hectic day. Still trying to make this full recovery from BlurryCon. But gotta keep it pushing. Getting ready for DreamCon. Excited for that. And we got some shows to talk about with one of the same main characters, actually.
The same actor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Professor E, Mr. Clean Hairline. How you feeling, my brother? How you doing?
Doing good. As the shirt tells you, I didn't go to any cons. I went to Italy for 10 days and then came back and had the flu for a week. So it was a rough departure. I don't think I've been on camera since then. But I'm happy to be back. Happy to see y'all. Happy to be ready to get into these shows. Get into some nerd shit, as Dev said. Yeah, let's dance. Ready to dance, man. Ready to dance.
Yeah, guys. So today, as you see per thumbnail, we are going to be finally reviewing the full comprehensive season of The Boys, season 4, right? Season 4, I think, right? Season 4. Last episode premiered this past Wednesday, and shit happened.
Earlier today? Thursday?
Was it earlier today? That was Wednesday. Never mind.
I
guess I was just watching all these a day late. I thought these were all dropping on Wednesdays. I was watching them all Thursday the next day. That's crazy. Or did it drop at midnight? Is that what it was? It was dropping at midnight? Okay. Yeah. That's what it was then. Yeah, guys, but final episode happened. Before we get into the minute details like we normally do, let's go ahead and kind of start with the general thoughts for the season. Any surprising things that happened? Any highlights of the moment of the season that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is probably my favorite season thus far. I would go so far as to say it's arguable for the best. A lot of twists and turns on it. Usually when I'm watching content like this, I can kind of predict how it's going to go. This throws several curveballs at me. And the ending had several in store there, so I'm looking forward to getting further into that. I think that there was a lot of growth within not always positive growth within the characters, but definitely you saw so much development. Like the characters that they were at the start of this season versus who they are for everyone is drastically different, going through some type of trauma in some way, shape, or form. And I think they did a really good job of putting them in scenarios that really showcase who their character were. That's across the board from Butcher all the way down to Starlight to Firecracker. Because I mean, her character went through a lot. And then
I liked her more than I thought I would. I liked her more than I
did too, actually. I really did. And then Sage is still my favorite character actually now. Like since she's shown up, I don't think there's a character that I enjoyed more in this show. I mean, Homelander is Homelander. I can never say I don't enjoy him, but Sage really made this season goated for me.
Professor E, how about you?
So I'll piggyback right off what Otis said. So for me, this season, I think out of all the seasons, this one seemed in a lot of ways, the initial jump, the most I wasn't sure where the season was going. I wasn't sure what the end goal was, or what the main adversary was, or what the overall objective was. For example, season 3, it was very clear early on they were trying to directly defeat or stop Homelander. So it was very quickly, very early on, they were trying to get Soldier Boy to do that, get a weapon to stop him off the cuff, so to speak. This season didn't really have that. I wasn't sure where they were going for a while there, but it was fun. It was almost episodic in a way, which was still enjoyable, but it was a very different kind of breed. It was interesting, of course, like Otis said, to watch the characters have very different, unique arcs. Everyone from Mother's Milk and his panic attacks to watching Homelander and his son completely fall apart in a way, watching his son become a different kind of entity, to watching Butcher go from being a big brother to someone like, you know what, I'm done now. Now I'm going full blown Dexter with the Dark Passenger taking over. I mean, bracing him taking over. It was a weird scenario of things. Even watching your girl Starlight just completely go full in a lot of ways, go embrace her, the more of her Mr. Hyde, so to speak, too. But it was so different than the other seasons as far as a direct line. The biggest problem, was I really, really liked Sage, but it seemed like Sage got kind of put in the background in a way early on. And then she kind of would pop up and say, "That was my plan all along." It's like, was it? It'd been kind of cool to see her machinations involved a bit more. Or even had like a after the fact. You guys, you've all seen Ocean's 11 or whatnot. Seeing her plan, see her like kind of involved more. Kind of like, by the way, this is how she did it. Kind of a step by step thing afterwards. Something to kind of see her involved more with things. Opposed to her just kind of showing up at the end like, "That was my plan. See, I wanted that to happen. It was cool. Well, I'm out." It's like, no, we like you. You're basically the Luce V of Britannia. Be involved more with the show. We like you so much. So, but overall, I still like.
Diaz coming back.
Is that true?
Yes, it is. It's like 5 episodes out.
Oh, I didn't.
You don't be in the groups like that, do you? I was everywhere in the group for a minute. These were like,
I was in Italy. I was out of the country 5 times away. Then had the flu. I'm an old man. But I'm glad it's back. I'm glad Kogi's back. It was still an enjoyable season. It had some shortcomings and some problems, but it definitely had some strengths. Had some strong strengths. One last thing I'll say real quick too is, it's interesting to see Homelander's backstory, where he kind of came from, not to necessarily sympathize with the character, but to at least understand where he's coming from. And I do want to get into a little discussion later on as to why it is we can enjoy hating certain characters like Anthony Starr's Homelander and just hate the actors and the characters to the point where we're sending them death threats like Christian Cole on House of the Dragon. We get to that later on, though.
We will definitely discuss that. For me, I will echo a lot of the same sentiments as my brothers here. This was definitely, to me, felt like the best season. I think there was the most character work this season. It felt like damn near every single side character got some kind of character arc to some form or fashion, which is nuts to say because there is at least like damn near 10 characters that were like recurring throughout the season, from Ryan to Sage to Homelander to everyone else and the boys. So that was really impressive that they were able to kind of balance that out without it feeling too dragged out or too unnecessary. And to everybody's point, I think Sage is definitely the fan favorite for this season. And I will agree with Ethan. I felt like that she kind of got treated almost like a MacGuffin almost at the end.
Exactly.
Or not
exactly.
Like it was like,
exactly
that was my plan all along. I think that, at least for me, could have been solved if we at least had like a cutaway of her like watching the TV in like delight. So it's like, okay, something's going on and it's still according to her plan, versus just her popping in at the end being like, yeah, I set this up so even you could mess this up because I knew you were stupid.
Because they did that before. They did that before when Firecracker was getting beat up by Starlight, and she's sitting there eating chips. Like, oh, she kind of did orchestrate that from the. She even said something like, now who's the, I can't remember what the exact line was, but pretty much commenting on what she said before that. So yeah,
that's all I needed. And I mean, it's a little it's not nitpicky per se, but it's a small thing to me at least. It's one of those things where like it's the little things that make this show go from like maybe for a season go from like a 9 to a 10 or 8 to a 9. It's little things. But all in all, I really enjoyed the season. The shock value is still there somehow, or with some of the deaths that happened throughout the season. The Homelander moments are the Homelander moments, and boy, this ending, because we're going to talk about predictions we had. Last time we talked about the show, we had a few predictions in regards of the direction that we thought the show's going to go in the arc of it, and specifically the Butcher arc. So we will discuss that here briefly, but yeah, bro, this is a great season all in all. I thoroughly enjoyed the season and still look forward to seeing every episode like week to week. But to go forward, do you guys want to kind of speak on any like highlight moments in particular, like for a specific episode or a specific scene that you guys favorite?
I'll go into some of the episodes with the deep. I never expected them to actually give him real character moments, but I mean, you really got to understand, like, you know, his relationship with Fish overall, with his particular squid friend. Understand like exactly how far he'd be willing to go for Homelander. Like, I mean, like, getting to see him as an actual individual and not just like, you know, kind of like a douchey version of Aquaman. I really actually appreciated that. I mean, he's a character that you kind of love to hate a little bit, not to the same degree as Homelander, because Homelander is Homelander. I mean, Anthony Starr does an amazing job, especially this season. But it's just a character I didn't expect to see develop the way that he did. And then another side character slash superhero, well, actual superhero now, is A-Train. I figured that we would get some type of, like, you know, menial redemption for him, but I didn't see him going full like anti-Vought and fighting against his superhero counterpart. Spoiler alert. So I apologize for the people that haven't seen it yet. But
we're doing spoilers.
Yeah, but yeah, like really the attention to detail to the secondary cast, like Charlie was saying. Like, I mean, I really appreciated that. I knew what to expect. Well, not to say knew what to expect from, like, you know, Butcher. Knew what to expect. I knew that he was going to get a lot of attention. I knew that Huey was going to get a lot of attention. I didn't see Huey going through all the stuff that he went through this season, because Huey went through it a lot. But really just emphasizing on exactly how much character development that they really emphasize this season overall. Like, I mean, like, there is not a character that, like, even seeing Black Noir going from what is my direction and I don't like killing people to, you know, him getting a what do they call it, a murder boner?
Murder boner.
Yeah, yeah, like, yeah, everybody got something this season.
Everybody got something. Yeah, another one too. Give a little praise to our girl Victoria Newman, by the way, who in real life is dating Huey Campbell, aka Jack Quaid, which is why
really,
yeah, which is why
I did not know that.
Yeah, which is why if you watch some of the scenes, like, wait, these two have some really good chemistry together. So, oh, because they are, yeah. But seeing Victoria,
good for him. Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. Well,
hey. That's all I'm gonna say. It's all I'm gonna say.
On the pull-up.
Don't split up anytime soon like Newman did.
Oh,
wow.
Too soon.
Okay.
Way too soon. It just happened. It just happened.
This man here.
But it was fun to see Victoria Newman, because basically, of course, it's the timing as far as politics, and we're in our real life too, as far as how it is a massive political game that everyone's playing, essentially, and how dangerous it actually is, and actually the literal danger that Victoria Newman knew that she was in, and it's a part where she's directly threatened overtly by Homelander, as far as like, I will do everything to just destroy your daughter and send you a piece of her every week. And it's kind of like, yeah, why are you? It's never going to stop. And I like the idea of her finally recognizing, I'm in too deep. I need to get out of here. I like that arc for her. I was going to mention the arc for A-Train. One of my favorite moments is a very small moment, but he brings it up himself. He takes mother's milk to the hospital after he has a panic attack, and he sees a young black kid that kind of smiles at him, and he smiles back. It's like, that's kind of a whole. I imagine there was a time way back in the day when A-Train said, that'd be so cool. I actually can be a superhero, and all that disillusionment went away. Over time, and so actually he see like, yeah, I'm actually making a positive difference And to see that, of course, ironically enough, the person who brought it around for him was Mother's Milk was the one he actually ended up saving. It's actually cool too to see Huey Campbell after, like I said, character arcs. This all started because Huey's girlfriend got blown up by a train running, through her in a drunken, or not a drunken, but in like while he was DUI essentially. So to see them come to some kind of peace with Newman's peace that she came to her arc, with A-Train's arc, and with Huey's. Again, too soon. But seeing these character arcs and people kind of coming to these things, those are the highlights for me. Seeing them kind of have almost in a way the redemption arcs, as you said, Otis.
Yeah. I want to piggyback off of the loose here and get into the deep stuff. The deep for me, in a lot of instances, it felt like he was trying not to become Homelander, but like he was copying a lot of Homelander tendencies in regards to like needing to feel superior, needing to feel intelligent. In the last episode, he was like, "Tell me I'm the smartest person in the 7." And he's just like he's copying even down to he just killed somebody off a whim. Like he's enjoying this a lot more and trying to become Homelander more. And in doing so, it kind of feels like Homelander's not getting more respect for him per se, but he's tolerating him a lot more than he did like beforehand, where he just was like purely annoyed by the sight of him and felt like. And yeah, his development was dope, and surprisingly enough, I think the highlight scene for me was him killing his octopus girlfriend. And that death there, like I wanted to give kudos to the actor for that. I'm blanking on his name right now, but that was a good scene for me in regards to him acting with it. I talk about it a lot, especially in like one of the most recent reviews I did with actors acting with their face and showing the emotion with their facial expressions, even beyond just them screaming or wallowing in pain. Like I can see the emotion you're trying to convey on your face, and that's how I connect with it a little bit more as a human being. So that was dope for me. That was like my highlight, one of the highlight scenes for me. But the main one, obviously, is going to be one of the super Homelander scenes when he goes back to the Red Room. And I want to talk about that briefly here. We mentioned that earlier in regards to him being humanized a little bit this season and getting to see his upbringing and the creation of the Homelander. So for people that aren't remembering or aren't aware, again, I think this is episode 5, I believe, where he goes into the Red Room. Or I could be wrong. It's one of the earlier or like the midpoints of the show where you essentially see Homelander return to the lab, the sub lab that he was being tested on in, and pretty much is like walking the audience through all the horrible shit that they did to him as a child, from throwing him in a furnace to see if his skin would burn, keeping him in isolation by himself for days on end. And this one weird dude watching him like, be at one with himself and laughing at him. So it felt almost like, at least for me as an audience member, I felt almost just like he was justified in doing some of the stuff he was doing. Like I wanted to feel bad because he was murdering people and they would never see their family. But at the same time, I'm like, I was kind of fucking with them.
What goes around comes around.
Yeah. So how did that sequence of events make y'all feel, or did y'all have any like specific thoughts on that in particular?
So I felt like, oh, y'all created a monster. He wasn't born a monster. It's very much, if you go into the whole nature versus nurture, there was a lot more nurture. It was a deliberate thing to the point where it also is very interesting to the whole dynamic where we talked about this before, how on the day he was born, he blasted his way out of his mother's womb and was hanging in air from the umbilical cord, and he killed, was it 3 doctors or 4 doctors, and like maimed some nurses. It was a horrible scene. Yeah. Imagine though, if y'all were there, if you were anywhere in the hospital, this is going on, you'd be horrified beyond belief of that baby. That baby might as well be the Antichrist to you. And so they pretty much said, like, what would you do then? They pretty much, the only they could think of was, his body's too strong. We had to figure out some way to contain him mentally. And so hearing that kind of both sides of the story is like, yeah, it was pretty much a struggle from the beginning from him. Now, in his defense, he didn't have a choice. He never chose any of this kind of stuff. And I think they could have gone another way as far as trying to go the Clark Kent route with his parents essentially trying to raise him like, we know you're very powerful, but if you show you love, it'll be okay. You can find a way around that. These guys did the Red Sun route as far as made him just a full weapon, essentially. I get that too. So it's interesting seeing both sides as far as, in a lot of ways, both sides are wrong, but ultimately they got what they wanted. They wanted a monster that they can control with one valve as far as his weaknesses being his ego essentially, or wanting to always please people. All that came to fruition, but there is a cost for that. There's a massive, massive cost for it.
Somebody fetch me a dagger so I may properly stab this baby.
It's hard. I mean, just imagining all that. Just like it was. Yeah.
I mean, I thought that scene was. I mean, I know we had an episode talking about tension. I mean, I think that was one of the most tense scenes that they built in this show. Just like, you really got to see exactly how sadistic Homelander could get. It's like, oh, you thought you had a chance. Like, you thought that this was going to be something else other than a bloodbath.
Once he popped up with the ice cream cake, it was a wrap. Ain't nobody leaving here alive.
Yes, that's the thing. We all knew no one was surviving there. And I mean, no one survived. And unfortunately, I believe some of them were probably too young to even be around their Homelander's like origin. They were just like, this is my third day on the job. It didn't matter. They got clapped. But it was interesting also how was named Barbara, the woman that was kind of, I guess, the mother figure essentially.
Yeah.
She pretty much showed no real fear to Homelander from moment one. She didn't seem like she was afraid of him at all. And B, she's the one survivor. She's the one person he left to suffer the most in the Red Room. She seemed like the most remorseless also. It's kind of like you have no remorse or understanding or compassion for this entity that's in a lot of ways you created this. I mean, you are the mother figure to this being. You so no remorse, so no responsibility. It's a weird scenario. You got what you deserve too in the Red Room in a lot of ways. So.
Yeah, it's interesting because at least for those two, particularly, it's that mental game of like mental dominance. Because from her perspective, it's like, oh, if you kill me, you give in and I win. And he understood that at a certain point. He's like, okay, well, I'll make you watch everyone else die, and I'll leave you here just so I can feel like I have that mental, like I got the last word in, haha. And it's very interesting if once you watch that sequence, and then I don't know if you guys watched the animated short. I think it's not Diabolical, but it was essentially like a prequel animated series they did.
Yeah, I saw both.
Yeah, it was kind of showcasing still how like early Homelander still had like the idea of wanting to be a hero before he like found out he was really bad at it, and started to kind of form his like really egomaniacal tendencies with the war, which I'm still kind of mad because they still never like dove into like the relationship he had with the original Noir at all and why they were so tight. Like we understood they were really close once he murdered him, but like, okay, they didn't really do anything on screen together. Like he could rely on him, but like there's nothing really else outside of that.
They didn't do much with him at all in this show, honestly.
Yeah, they did. They did a lot with the Soldier Boy stuff, but I'm like, okay, what about him and Homelander? But I digress. But yeah, that sequence of events was beautifully sadistic. To piggyback off of Lelouch there, I enjoyed that a lot. I'm not gonna lie. Homelander scenes are always a good for me. I can't wait till we get to the end of the series and we can just do a compilation reel of all the fucked up Homelander scenes throughout this entire series. If Anthony Starr doesn't get like an Emmy for this show, I'll be very surprised.
He'll probably get. I mean, he's getting all kinds of praise. That's what I want to ask you all right now. Then is why is it that? Because I mean, there's a few different reasons. But I just want to ask y'all, why do you think it is that a character? Because Homelander is there's a part where he literally tears a Spider-Man, kind of a knockoff Spider-Man, in half with his hands.
That was some nasty shit.
It is horrific. But he like the Dev loves him, or Dev loves to hate him, whatever. He has still a massive rabid fan base. People enjoy watching him on the show. But a character like Christian Cole, who has he's killed anybody in malice, or he's pretty much followed his orders for the most part extensively. Why is he getting overwhelming hate from the fans for HOD?
I think, at least for me, I think it has to do a lot with charisma and the way the characters are written. Antagonists to me can be written in a plethora of ways, but the stark difference that I see between those two is like one's more traditionally a villain in regards to like, all right, we see him as a bad guy, he does bad stuff, and Homelander is like, he's a bad guy that does bad stuff, but then they also humanize him a little bit, like we saw with this season. And then in addition to that, he does it with a little dramatic, almost like the Joker, where he just does fucked up shit with a dramatic flair, so it's entertaining. and we're like, yeah, he's evil, but we like how evil he is because he entertains me as he's doing crazy shit. At least that's in my mind how I make sense of it in my mind on why like I love seeing Homelander be evil, but then I want to punch Christian Cole in the face.
What's your thoughts, Otis?
I'm kind of mirrored that. I think it's just in the way that the character is portrayed. Like, Homelander kind of embodies like, letting your intrusive thoughts win.
Mm-hmm.
And while Christian Cole is just kind of like, kind of just conniving isn't the word, but you just see him like the transition from him being so close to Rhaenyra. I mean, we know their backstory to switching up and like being so angry with her, and then switching over to the opposite side like that. Mm-hmm. Nobody really likes a turncoat, really.
Mm-hmm.
Homelander's been Homelander since the first episode. I mean, he's progressed in exactly how egomaniacal that he is, but I mean, he's been very true to himself, and honestly, I feel like in this season he's become even more true to himself, which is in a way respectable. But yeah, it's the charisma behind him, and just the fact that there is a campus of people. I mean, honestly, you can find something relatable in his character just about for anyone, and Christian Cole is more so just unrelatable. Like,
right.
I think the point you brought up earlier is the key thing.
Christian Cole.
The point you brought up earlier, I think, is the key thing. Is the fact that he was in our good graces and was so close to the character we all love in Rhaenyra, and then turned against her. So like we felt like he turned against us as well. I think that's like the main thing.
That's a big thing. Yeah, it was because originally it came out. It's like, oh, these two are in love with each other. Hope they go the whole way or whatever it might be. Yeah, it's fantastic. And then he, like you said, Otis, he got kind of swarmy. He got like kind of basically he betrayed her, and like you're saying too, Dev, went to the dark side, whatever it might be. And he sent off a twin to kill his own twin brother, knowingly that's going to happen for an assassination attempt, which we know is going to get botched. I got you. But I think one thing too is if you're another comparison would be Jaime Lannister and Christian Cole. Why? Because Jaime Lannister basically is an egotistical egomaniac, like a Homelander, so to speak, in a world that Christian Cole is essentially. And people, if y'all remember, way back when season 1, they did love to hate Jaime Lannister in a very different way than Joffrey. He was a charismatic, fun, energetic character to watch. We loved everything he said. He was attractive too, closer to like an Anthony Starr, so to speak. So it makes sense. So these factors, these things all come together. It's similar. It's what they call the Toji factor now. I'm sure y'all seen it before. Why is everyone like Toji so much? What he's doing? Toji's clapping off, Geto and Gojo. I know I'm getting off topic here, but it's the idea of why certain villains can be so appealing to an audience, where others, people genuinely hate them and want them to suffer in real life. So that's all.
Gotta have aura, man. At the end of the day, if you don't got that aura, then it's just no.
Yeah.
Boy, Christian Cole got a weird case. Why is he around? Anyway,
sidetracking so much.
No, I think that was valid tangent to go on, which is different from a lot of the other ones we'll have. So that was when it made sense.
We're back.
But to move into, I want to discuss the little the prediction that we had in our last discussion on the show.
One last thing, because before we move on too much we haven't talked about Frenchie or Kimiko. We don't have to go into all their backstory, but did y'all like seeing how their story ended? Essentially, okay.
That felt rushed at the end. I'm not gonna lie to you.
At the very end, we're saying spoilers and stuff, right? Or you mean like the very end, or the part where
the very end? Yeah, their whole relationship felt rushed because it felt like they were doing this whole will they won't they arc for it, and it went from him dealing with the grief of his actions to okay, now that because I think the last time they spoke about it, they were having the whole thing where she wanted him to be with Colin because he was better or whatever else, and then she was making it apparent that me and you will never happen. Da 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 da.
Right.
And I felt like they got into that romance really quickly. I think to me, in my perfect world, I would have saved that for like the last, like for next season. Now that they've kind of gotten through their own, because she's worked through her issues with not the First Light, but that military group background that she had by that point. And Frenchie's now dealt with a lot of the stuff he's had in his past life with the Little Russian and other stuff like that. Okay, like now that they've both gotten through both of their tragic backstories, now I think we can kind of let that romance go a little bit more. But it felt like they kind of just like jumped into it really quickly, and then even cited it more when they had her like giggling over the kiss or whatever else with the little text message she showed the Starlight.
Yeah, they could have. Yeah, they probably could have. I'm sorry, go ahead, Otis.
I actually disagree. I don't think that was really rushed. I think them showcasing that moment of happiness was to like, give a little bit of levity before we got to the end where like, Frenchie gets walked up on by old girl from Gen V, and like Kimiko's traumatized to the point where she like actually screams again. I thought that was
her first word. Her first word is no. That's her first word.
I don't think that you get that without having that, like, them come to being happy for a moment, right? Like, I don't think it, and especially after seeing Frenchie hit his lowest of lows, like literally rock bottom where he puts himself in jail, and they can have that that connection where like we're both monsters and we're trying to recover and get better day by day. Like, I thought that was, poetically done, honestly. Like, them just getting to that moment of being so happy, and then it just, Butcher shows up and, two-step.
Yeah.
And then, like, it's not done here. It's not over yet.
Right.
We still got worse to get.
Yeah. It's now y'all.
I still feel like,
right. Yeah.
I feel like we still get that though. Like that same hints of like you can still have the moment where she talks again, all that stuff. Because like to your point, after he got out of that jail and they had the moment where she was infected with the virus and he saved her, they had like a moment of levity there. I think you could do another one because up until that point, it was shown that they had like.
I was like, yeah.
Remember when they like? Remember when they met back up and she was not after she cut the leg off. It was like when they met up again when he was like working with Samir and I think it was the same episode but before she got infected, where they were sitting down next to each other after they kind of like reconciled and they were like smiling with each other and kind of bumping each other because they had a whole little dialogue about like why didn't you confide in me, right. And he was letting her know like, hey, I felt like I had to go in there. And they were literally smiling and kind of cracking jokes and sat down before Samir. Like I think right after that moment is when Samir broke out and then infected her with the virus.
Maybe, but that's a.
It was episode like 6.
Maybe, but that's a very, very brief. That moment I lived is so brief.
I mean, I'm not saying that's the moment. That's the only thing you need. But I'm saying you could have another moment like that to where it's platonic at that point. I think them jumping directly into the romance was the rush to me. Because you can still have those feelings of love and compassion in the way that they've had up until that point without them jumping directly into, now we're romantically involved.
No, I see what you're saying. I see what both of y'all are saying. I think I kind of I'm in the middle somewhere. Because the thing is, this was building up for like 4 seasons. And I think it was season 2 where she outright said, no, we cannot be together. Or something along those lines.
That was this season.
No, it said it again. But I mean, because Frenchie was into her way back in the day. And she pretty much shot him down.
Mm.
And then again, this season, she said the same thing as far as like, I want you to be with him. And then she broke it down.
Like,
as far as,
this will never happen.
Yeah, this will never happen. So because she said that, it's like, well, that's like, I saw them as more like a brother and sister in a way. But then it seemed weird when she was like, no, it's the reason I say I want you with somebody else because I'm thinking I'm good enough for you essentially. And then she kissed him. That seemed a little like, She kind of turned the script. But at the same time, like Otis says, though, it's like they've always had a chemistry with each other. She went to see him in prison every day, even though he wouldn't ever see her. And they're clearly the best friends imaginable. So it's like at the same time, like it's been 4 seasons, and it's the last episode of the 4th season. It's pretty much time. It's will they, won't they? They got to go ahead and do it now. There's no other time. And because they did connect when her first word was screaming no, that he was as he's being taken away, it hit a little harder. It made more sense.
Yeah, it's a little nitpick thing for me. I feel like because I feel like the romance would have hit a little bit more for me because at some point, I mean, maybe they do the unthinkable and kill Frenchie off before they meet again. But I'm assuming that at some point he's going to escape or she's going to escape, or one of them's going to save one another, or they'll meet up at some point again. And the fact that they were taken apart and thought they would never see each other again, I think that's when the romance stuff could have started then. But again, that's just me nitpicking stuff. It's nothing like super crazy. And maybe that's just me in regards to how I feel about that. But
Sure opinion.
yeah.
Right.
To move into the prediction, I definitely want to get into this because I'm not going to say I called it because I think it's nothing like I'm not going to act like I'm a genius for calling it because it happened in the comics, so it was likely to happen. But the Butcher unloaded or the Butcher unleashed essentially in this final episode where I mentioned it before, but in the comic book, like the final arc of the show after Homelander was murdered by his evil clone, Clone Noir. The last arc of the show was Butcher going on a kill all Soup's tirade, and it was up to Yui to kill him and stop him. And I was trying to figure out how they would go about finishing the show out or going into the final aspects of it because they haven't killed Homelander at this point, and they made it very apparent that they were going to go a different route than the comics, but they were still going to take inspiration from it. And I remember Ethan called me. Either you called me, or you shot me a text like a week or two ago. When the previous episode dropped, and we was shown that Butcher's friend that was Kessler, he was talking to the whole time, was in his head. And Ethan's theory was that again, it was going to be something. He was going to be a hallucination, and then he called me to confirm that. I love how they went about having Butcher kind of turn to the other side completely and going back into his original morals from the beginning of the show of Kill All Soups, and how Ryan killing Grace was kind of like the nail in the coffin for that. Because it seemed like Ryan was the only thing keeping him from fully embracing that side of himself. 100%. So seeing Ryan kind of lose control, and I'm like, okay, this makes. I feel like this is like perfect timing for that to happen. 100%. And Jesus Christ, the way it happened was wild. I was like, that surprised me. I mean, they kind of alluded to it and how he would have some kind of symbiote type shit jump out of his chest with the rabbit from I think episode 4 maybe.
Farm episode.
But seeing that shit happen to him, I was like, hey, yo, what the fuck? What the absolute fuck?
Yeah, it was crazy. Because I think they also, what you said, they do highlight the idea that Ryan is is very much his canary. He's real. They talk about how Huey is a canary for him, how his brother Lenny was a canary for him, and how Ryan was the main canary for him, the last real canary for him, essentially. And so even the point where he's watching TV and he saw Ryan pretty much reject all the Vought stuff, and he was talking to Kessler. Then he's like, "Yeah, that's it. That's my golden boy. As long as he's still in the fight, I'm ready to do this kind of a thing." So when he was gone, that was it. There's nothing for him to live for, essentially. He pretty much gave in to all the darkness, so to speak. By the way, Jeffrey D. Morgan, you can't cast Jeffrey D. Morgan to play like Santa Claus or a happy preacher. It's like that guy's got to be dark. It's not going to work for him being happy or good or anything. He's going to be a vile in some way. He has to be.
Yeah, bro.
I mean, he does it well.
He does it very well. Yeah, he's good at his job.
I mean, I think that was another great scene, that last conversation between Grace, Butcher, and Ryan. Seeing that she was so desperate that she was willing to have to trap him, and put him essentially in the same situation that Homelander was in initially.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But trying to be so nice about it, for lack of a better word, trying to be consoling about it in the same sense, and then seeing how Butcher was for lack of a better word, coddling Ryan, trying to keep him away from exactly how dark the situation was, but seeing how his reaction to that just took us directly to that ending. Just great storyboard in there, just making sure that every bit of everyone's motivation is being either used for or against the overall plot of the story. I just think it's masterfully done.
No, I completely agree, because it was very much, you said coddling. It was coddling, but I think clearly Butcher knew what he was dealing with. He knew that would set Ryan off essentially because he shielded him from everything. He shielded him from the idea that by the way, your dad clearly he raped your mom back in the day. There was no relationship. He raped her, and the idea too of like all the other horrific things, all things he could have used as ammunition right against Homelander. He never used them essentially to bring over. And also, it's to show. What's funny too is it showed how for the longest time he was seeing Kessler and Becca, and for the last 3 episodes we didn't see Becca at all. It was pretty much just Butcher versus Kessler, and he was still able to fight him off essentially. And so it's you talking about arcs, essentially redemption arcs and everything else. Butcher pretty much had one. We weren't sure which way he was going to go, and it seemed very much by the end he had accepted the idea that he might pass, and also he was very much having more of a heroic journey or an end, so to speak. And of course, it got that one maneuver turned everything to the super duper dark side. Yeah.
I'm gonna need like an explanation of how his powers work because I don't understand how. Well, I understand like because as Newman was like, I understand how surprised he was. I think everybody was surprised that this tentacle jumped out of this man's chest, and then he proceeded to he covered her eyes up so her abilities wouldn't work. Yeah, but it felt like it moved in slow motion almost. But maybe that was just me. Like I feel like the arms came out, he popped the daughter out the way, and then he slowly wrapped its tentacle around her face. And I'm like, damn, she could have popped his head a little bit faster than that, couldn't she? But I don't know, maybe this is just me. Again, it's not it's a nitpick, but it was gruesome. I was like, there's no way they kill her off like this. Like she didn't go out like this, does she? And then Buddy was like, no more deals. No more deals. I'm over this shit.
I thought the whole idea was they weren't sure how to. She seemed almost immortal in some way, so they weren't sure how to kill her. So I guess the thing was they didn't have enough power to do it. If that's the case, though, then Butcher with his tentacles could probably tear apart or at least severely mess up Homelander too, right?
Which is maybe not, because that was the whole point of him getting the V after that. Because if he felt like he was strong enough to do that, he would have just went straight for him, right? Instead of worrying about getting the V. Not the V, but the virus.
Or the virus too, yeah, because he was going for the virus over and over again. I also don't think Butcher was even aware fully of what his powers were. I mean, he knew he survived Ezekiel in the trailer somehow, but he didn't know what was going on. And he found out, of course, that Kessler was actually they're one and the same. But I think he still didn't know what was going on until he officially embraced it. Because it seemed like once he finally embraced it, that's when he started doing some stuff. He wasn't.
Well, I think he knew to an extent because he saw the rabbit in the snow that had taken a V that had the same thing. He had the chest bursting monster out of his chest. So he was aware
something,
but he was fighting he was fighting it because he was fighting that part of himself in the Kessler thing. And then keep in mind as well, if you watched in the animated series that they had there's a same tentacle monster that had its own little monster arc where the woman had cancer and then they injected her with V. The guy injected her with V to save her. And she had a chest burster monster that hers kind of at one point just jumped out of her whole body and went crazy, sentient on its own. But I don't know. I'm interested to get more details on that because he's strong as shit apparently. Because he ripped her apart. I'm curious to see if she's actually dead or not because they showed in Gen V that she can regenerate really fucking quickly too. That's right. I wouldn't be surprised if she popped up in some kind of healing tank. But again, they may not need her because they still got Marie around, who has the same damn powers essentially. So whatever you need her to do, maybe you still have Marie in the tuck for it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know if she survived or not, bro. She looked pretty unalive to me.
Yeah,
I mean, we've seen Kimiko grow limbs back and be torn in half and get her neck. So I don't know if her regeneration abilities are on Kimiko's level or not. But I'm not mad if she's dead, gone. I'm not mad at that because we didn't. But I wouldn't be surprised because we haven't gotten an explanation to the extent of how strong her abilities actually are.
Right. Yeah. No, it's interesting. I'm curious to see what they do with the fifth season in general. Also, your girl Ashley. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, it seemed like the last shot we saw.
Oh, I forgot about her.
And we didn't see what it actually did to her.
She went to something.
Yeah.
She gave me leader vibe from the Incredible Hulk movie. I think she's going to be some. Yeah. I feel like she's going to be some kind of telekinetic because you saw the TV being disrupted in the corner when she was changing out. Every screen she had, it would disrupt the TV.
That'd be cool.
If they didn't do anything else good in this final episode, they left so many what ifs open. Between Ashley, between Butcher, and then at the very end with Soldier Boy being discovered again. I'm like, there is a lot of like what ifs going on, and then some characters off screen that aren't even spoken for, accounted for, in A-Train being gone still, Maeve being gone still.
Yeah,
We don't know who pops up in this final season.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll come back. It'll be cool to see also, because I like the idea too that Huey like gave Starlight the signal to fly off essentially. So I'm sure she'll come back and help him out away too.
Did she get a boost, y'all? Because was she able to fly like that beforehand?
She was trying.
Unless she could only levitate.
Yeah, she could levitate. She was struggling to figure out how to do it to work, more or less. But yeah, she never actually flew off completely like that before.
Yeah, now she on some like super. Like her power's got a fucking super upgraded now.
Yeah, got to upgrade. But I was talking about Sage before. How I like this. There was a scene that was similar to what you imagine the Sage scene would be, where you see Huey figuring out that Starlight was actually the copycat. Where he's like, wait a minute, this isn't the kind of Sherlock Holmes style. So that was kind of cool to see. He broke it down as far as I know you so well. I know this is about you. That was kind of fun. So yeah. So I think Huey had a really good season too. Also, we forgot we were remiss. We forgot to mention Simon Pegg's episode where he was the dark side of being a Shadow Cat. If you were a Shadow Cat, how overwhelmingly OP you could be essentially. But that was I think that's going to lead into season 5 with Butcher, as far as Huey's arc also being tough enough to put down those he does see as a threat. He had to put down his dad. Essentially, it was very hard to do.
The last thing I will mention, as far as like I guess a writing aspect of the show, I enjoyed the repeating imagery of like the mirror into oneself that they did a lot with, obviously Homelander a lot, and most recently with Starlight. Like she got to literally see her own reflection of herself and dealing with like your past traumas coming to bite you in the ass. And that was like the recurring thing between those two, Frenchie, Yui to an extent with his mother. Like everybody was dealing with like their past coming back to bite them in the ass, to have to look it in the face. And through a lot of the literal imagery, it was done very well. Like the writing, the cinematography, very well done.
Yeah, agree. Definitely agree. It's called coming full circle, which is really cool. I like that a lot.
And just continue to, showcase that between this and Invincible, this is the best superhero content out there.
Who would have thought that Amazon would have, genuinely good.
They hitting on all cylinders right now. I ain't gonna lie to you. They on some crack rock right now with the stuff they got out. Between both of those shows, Vox Machina, and I know I'm forgetting like another series or show.
Not counting Ring of Power.
Oh, yeah. I think they had a second season, didn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it did.
I
like Mr.
have
Mr.
no
Smith.
dog in that fight. I forgot about Mr. and Mrs. Smith. That was another one because I'm ready for that second season. I need that second season soon.
Did you see the finale yet?
With Bino and I forgot the girl's name.
Swarm?
The Blue Eyed Samurai. Yeah. Samurai Swarm. Yeah.
I thought it was Netflix.
It's Netflix.
Swarm is Netflix, but the Blue Eyed Samurai, the person who voiced
Blue Eyed Samurai is Netflix.
Yeah, Blue Eyed Samurai is Netflix. But
you're talking about her actor being in that show.
Her actors in
Mr.
Smith.
Yeah. But before we get ready to close out, let's go ahead and give this season, I guess, a ranking in general on our scale. What are you guys giving this on a scale of 1 to 10 for this season?
I'll probably give the season a 9. Close to a 10. I was waiting for like a bigger moment sooner to, really kind of reshape how the world went. I mean, they ended it with a bang, and you really know that, like, that 5th season is going to be like the finale. Because I mean, where else can it go after that?
If it's not, they're dragging it. I'm sorry. If it's not ending at the next season,
I think they said season 5 is officially the final.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give it an 8.5. For me, it's just it was even though it was entertaining to watch, I couldn't quite tell which direction, if it had a direction early on, and then I wanted to see Lushvi, aka Sage, kind of a little more active with some of the things. It seemed like she was the smartest person in the world, but didn't really do much with it. But then it's like, oh, by the way, these are all my designs from the start. Like, really? Were they? And then a couple questions as far as, like you said, with Butcher, with his abilities, how much did he actually know was happening and what didn't? But again, these are smaller gripes. It was still a very, very enjoyable show. I was very glad I watched it. Very well done. Extremely well acted.
Yeah. I will also give it a 9. I think that the small things added up enough to not give it like a perfect score with the things that we mentioned up until this point between the Sage stuff, the at least for me, the rushed romance stuff with Frenchie and Kimiko, stuff like that. But outside of those little things, man, this was something that I thoroughly enjoyed in my routine of shows to watch throughout the week between this, Superman, Mushoku Tensei, and then some of the other anime that were coming out with Kaiju number 8. This was like one of the bigger highlights that I look forward to watching every week in my little routine for a couple weeks here. But yeah, man.
Yeah, we're at a content.
Are there any other
because everything's Kaiju number 8's over. The Boys is over.
I mean,
absolutely, like
just started. It's some good ones cooking up.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, bro. It was. I've been in heaven. I've been in heaven this last month. Like every week, I'm like, oh man, Monday through Sunday, I got something to look forward to that's about to drop. That's gonna be some heat.
Content.
Yeah, like I'm nowhere reviewing it all because I'm like, let me just enjoy this month because I'm not going to try to review all these damn shows as they're coming out.
Shout out to
but before
the best choreography ever in Star Wars.
Which one?
I can't give it the best ever. It's up there. It's like it's right behind Episode 3. I don't think there's a single fight in that show that was better than the Obi-Wan Anakin fight on Mustafar yet.
That's the age difference. That y'all still praise that fight. I'm not a fan of that.
It's
fight.
the best one we've seen so far. It's the best one we've seen so
fight.
far.
I'm not. No, Obi-Wan.
And then even better because that was a one cut. Like there was no cutting in that either. That was like them doing that legit through the entire time. There's no cuts throughout that. I haven't seen anything that.
We'll be talking about this. That's a whole other. We'll be here for another.
No, we won't. It's a short conversation. It's a short. Are there any closing remarks on the show before we get up out of here?
Keep it coming.
Yeah,
Go
of
out
course.
with a bang. That last season's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that all goes down.
See what happens when you let a show go the full 5 seasons as expected. Talking to UCW.
Yeah,
Supernatural supposed to be in there 5 seasons, and you see
but when
he gets to actually do his 5 seasons.
I mean, they went on. Yeah, let's get out of here for that. Let's not do it. Let's not do it.
Okay, yeah.
Let's not do it. All right, y'all. This has been Lelouch Reed, King of the Comics, and Captain Diesel, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.